Hello?
Is that Frank?
Yes.
Hi, Frank. This is Jimmy Hoffa.
Martin Scorsese's The Irishman stars two of the world's best-known and best-loved actors who both emerged from the adventurous studio films of the 1970s, Al Pacino and Robert De Niro.
Well, then who the hell else are you talking to? Talking to me? Well, I'm the only one here.
These men are very much associated with each other, so it might come as a surprise just how few movies they've actually made together. Before The Irishman, these stars, who've both been acting for more than half a century, shared the screen only 3 times in The Godfather Part 2, Heat, and Righteous Kill.
We've been face to face, yeah.
Over a decade passed between each of these movies, and in 2 out of the 3, they have few, if any, scenes together. For a long time, this was a source of frustration to fans of both actors. These two icons seem like such compatible co-stars. They've both played a lot of cops, they've both played a lot of crooks, and they've both worked with some of the same filmmakers.
I want him dead. I want his family dead. I want his house burnt to the ground.
Now, if I ever see you here again, you die. Just like that.
So why haven't they overlapped more over the years? The Irishman finally delivers the De Niro-Pacino team-up that viewers have long been denied. But it works because it builds on the pair's cinematic history of separateness. At first, strategically keeping the actors apart, and then using restraint and tension in their on-screen togetherness.
I understand you're a brother of mine.
Yes, sir.
Here's our take on how Al Pacino and Robert De Niro are more powerful when they're kept apart. This video is brought to you by Mubi, a curated streaming service showing exceptional films from around the globe. It's like your own personal film festival, streaming anytime, anywhere. Apart is how De Niro and Pacino first co-starred. For 1974's The Godfather Part 2, they couldn't share any scenes because their characters were separated by time. De Niro plays Pacino's father, Vito Corleone, as a young immigrant, in flashbacks that intercut with the continuing story of Pacino's adult Michael Corleone.
I know it was you, Fredo. You broke my heart.
Throughout this epic film, it's poignant to watch Vito make choices as a young man that will change the course of his life, and the life of his son. De Niro doesn't appear in The Godfather Part 2 for almost 45 minutes, and technically, he's first seen with Pacino. Director Francis Ford Coppola dissolves from a close-up of Pacino's face into De Niro's first scene. These dissolves are a motif in the movie, first used to transition from Michael talking with his son to Vito and his infant son, and used again to move between Michael learning about the loss of his unborn child to Vito looking over Michael as a baby. The transitions link the characters across the decades, finding emotional parallels and continuity between past and present. Back in 1974, keeping them apart was not a choice based on the actors' fame, as their reputations didn't precede them in the same way as they do now. But these first shared images of De Niro and Pacino, somehow bound together but distinctly apart, were unwitting precursors of what was to come in the duo's cinematic relationship. In the 20 years between Godfather 2 and Heat, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino developed pretty different signature acting styles.
Say hello to my little friend.
Pacino is known for going bigger and hammier, playing characters who are larger than life.
He's an absentee landlord.
While De Niro is known for going quieter and more internal, playing characters who are less prone to rococo speechifying.
So what'd you say?
That said, they're both capable of assuming each other's typical characteristics. De Niro can certainly ham it up.
I offered you a chance when we could have done something. I offered you a chance to be a cop, and you blew it!
While Pacino knows how to dial it down.
If it was gonna be anyone, I'm glad it was him.
If anyone ever tries to tell you that either of them lack range, consider that all 4 of those examples you just saw are from movies that came out in the same year, 1997. For their second film together, Heat, writer-director Michael Mann casts them both to type. De Niro is the softer-spoken but icy professional criminal,
What's the estimate?
while Pacino is the flamboyant cop on his trail.
Give me what you got!
Just like in Godfather 2, the movie cuts between their storylines, but this time, they're not separated by time. Pacino's cops are always right on the trail of De Niro's criminals.
They dumped all our surveillance. Yeah.
There's constant tension between the storylines, and especially for fans of both actors who spend a lot of the movie wondering when they might actually cross paths. The two legends finally meet just past the halfway point. After nearly 90 minutes of cat-and-mouse pursuit, Pacino's Vincent Hanna pulls over De Niro's Neil McCauley and asks to sit down with him, taking a time out from their jobs.
What do you say I buy you a cup of coffee?
What follows is a 6-minute scene that doesn't have a lot of traditional firepower. There's no violence, no dramatic change, neither actor even really raises his voice.
You see me doing thrill-seeker liquor store holdups with a Born to Lose tattoo on my chest?
Pacino and De Niro are seen together, on screen, for the first time, but still, their faces are mostly kept apart. Michael Mann shoots them both over the shoulder, meaning that when De Niro's face is visible, Pacino's back is to the camera, and vice versa.
You know, I chase down some cruise guys just looking to up, get busted back.
This scene has the only real dialogue the two actors share in the entire movie, and Mann doesn't always keep the camera on whoever is speaking.
I got a stepdaughter so up because her real father's this large type asshole.
Mann makes these characters listening to each other the focus of the scene.
You know, I have this recurring dream. I'm sitting at this big banquet table and all the victims of all the murders I ever worked are sitting at this table.
The honesty of their dialogue is even more powerful when we're looking at one face at a time, reacting as well as speaking.
And there they are, all of them just sitting there.
And even though visually the characters remain separate, they're closer than they've ever been.
I don't know how to do anything else.
It's just one scene together, but the simple weight of that quiet conversation hangs over the rest of the movie. So what happens when De Niro and Pacino aren't limited to a single scene? The answer is Righteous Kill, which came 13 years after Heat.
You thought I'd get my cut off. Instead, you only blew it.
This time, they're both cops, dealing with a serial killer who's murdering criminals. On the surface, Righteous Kill gives fans of the actors exactly what they want. Pacino and De Niro on screen together constantly. They banter on the job.
What, you don't believe in miracles?
When you pick up a check one day, then I'll believe in miracles.
They attend softball games.
Go, Turk, go!
At the end, they confront each other over a dumb twist ending.
I couldn't stop. Finally, I didn't want to.
So what am I gonna do, my friend, partner, arrest you?
And yet, the big Pacino-De Niro partnership starts to feel routine. It's confusing, because both actors have been good in plenty of non-classic movies.
You want creamy goodness? I'm your friend. Say hello to my chocolate blend.
I keep asking myself, why you all lied to me?
Why can't they elevate a middling thriller like Righteous Kill, especially with the novelty of them teaming up? The answer is the lack of tension. Righteous Kill puts its stars together immediately. Director John Avnet goes out of his way to put them side by side, even when they're not in the same physical space.
You sleeping well?
Not really.
Yep.
And sure, it's exciting to see De Niro and Pacino side by side at a firing range over the opening credits. But the fan service choice to give audiences all this much longed for De Niro-Pacino togetherness erodes the drama that derives from their distance. No matter how many scenes they share, the actors' generically crusty buddy cop characters don't have much of substance to say or do.
You remember Underdog?
What about him?
That dog spawned a generation of junkies.
Instead of real back and forth or exchange, there's a bunch of monologuing.
A righteous man before me stands, a hero in these filthy lands.
So in 100 minutes of all this proximity,
We got a lot to cover, and not much time to do it in.
there aren't any scenes as quietly powerful as the dialogue-free showdown in Heat. Which brings us to The Irishman.
I heard you paint houses.
As De Niro's Frank Sheeran, a union man and mob enforcer, becomes close with Pacino's Jimmy Hoffa, Martin Scorsese uses the actors' on-screen history to give their scenes greater impact than if they had been more frequent co-stars all these years. The movie upholds the tradition of keeping the stars apart by having their first meeting happen not in person, but over the phone.
Glad to meet you.
Well, glad to meet you, too, even if it's over the phone.
This contact doesn't happen until a little over 45 minutes in, a wait that might remind us of The Godfather Part 2, except this time it's Pacino who doesn't appear for around 3/4 of an hour. Scorsese even interrupts their first conversation to show Hoffa in his natural habitat, speechifying to a bunch of Teamsters.
I want to write it in the sky. Solidarity!
Later, the first sit-down meeting between Hoffa and Sheeran is shot something like Heat. Their bodies share the frame, but their faces never do, as Hoffa sizes up his new lackey with another character positioned between them.
We gotta clear up a few drips and drabs.
In the next scene, Pacino and De Niro really share the frame for the first time in a decade.
You were there. You saw it firsthand.
The intimacy they're experiencing as colleagues is limited, but very noticeable. That's even more evident in a later scene where Hoffa berates a room full of flunkies.
You dumb mother.
You know what you did?
When Sheeran leaves in a huff and Hoffa follows him to apologize for lumping him in with the others, they're framed making actual physical contact, and it has a disarmingly tender, funny effect.
Oh, come on, Frank. You know me better than that. You just know me better than that.
The confrontational nature of past De Niro and Pacino roles and their lack of mutual screen time primes you to expect a face-off. But like Michael Mann, Scorsese understands that this build-up does a lot of the work for him. When these actors do share the screen, they can be lower key. For example, they can spend a scene quietly getting ready for bed, wearing grandpa pajamas. They can give each other a reassuring hug. They can discuss the finer points of meeting etiquette.
This isn't right. This isn't right. You don't do this. You don't keep a man waiting.
I know.
These are moments that might seem inconsequential with less iconic actors, but Pacino and De Niro performing them together is significant. That significance gets heavier as the movie goes on. Hoffa becomes more at odds with the mob, and Sheeran tries to smooth things over.
I still say 15.
No, 10.
Fine, we disagree on that.
Well, how about 12.5 minutes?
There we go. Well,
Instead, he's eventually tasked with killing Hoffa. In a scene leading up to Hoffa's murder, Hoffa and Sheeran ride together in the back of a car. From this vantage point, the natural setup is to have them sharing the frame, and Scorsese does, creating an uneasy intimacy.
It'll help you in life.
There's a sweetness to Hoffa's trust, and palpable discomfort from Sheeran, who knows what's coming. Their chummy old man physical contact is echoed faintly when they share the frame together for the last time. All this lead up, based on decades of cinematic history, makes the sudden burst of violence especially chilling. And fittingly, as Sheeran leaves, we see Hoffa's body alone in the frame. In the movie's final scene, too, we leave De Niro all alone, but he's left the door open. The film closes with this image of longing, as if Sheeran is hoping that the spirit of his lost friend might slip in through the crack. With its de-aging technology, The Irishman ultimately feels like an attempt to go back and rewrite history to unite these two. Yet even within the story, the result is a distance that neither can cross, despite their mutual fondness and respect. We might imagine an alternate cinematic past in which Pacino and De Niro could have been a frequent duo, but that wasn't the way it happened.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It's what it is.
What we got instead is a relationship built in middle age and beyond, with the weight of both actors' storied histories behind it. The movies are fewer, but the moments are greater. And their decades apart pay off spectacularly with their work together in The Irishman, even if it is the last time.
Well, maybe we'll never see each other again.
Hi guys, this is Charlie, and today I want to talk to you about one of our favorite places to watch movies, Mubi. Mubi is a treasure trove of films. Every day, Mubi premieres a new film. Whether it's a movie you've been dying to see or one you've never heard of before, there is always something new to discover. So in this world where it's very easy to spend hours debating what you should watch, Mubi is like having a really cool friend with amazing taste in movies, making it so much easier for you. They feature hard-to-come-by masterpieces, indie festival darlings, influential art house and foreign films, lesser-known films by your favorite famous directors, and more. Plus, you can even download the films to watch offline, and there are no ads, ever. One movie you can check out right now on Mubi is Tetro, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. This 2009 drama tells the story of two brothers reuniting after a long period of estrangement. We can't recommend Mubi highly enough. You can try it out now for free for a whole month. Just click the link in the description below.